Merry Christmas, everybody. We got something special today on Superhuman Customs. I've got Dave with me. He's just painting D&D figures. He'll be in the background. But what we're gonna do today is, so you remember, I did that Witcher character, and I was working on this guy just with the Jason Mamoa head, and I was like, oh, I'll make him a Witcher. So I added the detail here. And then as soon as I got the hair painted white and popped it on here, I was like, that would make the coolest Santa Claus ever. And so that is what we are gonna do today. To just ring in the Christmas season, we're gonna make a badass Santa Claus as if Jason Mamoa was playing him. So I am super excited to do this. Let's jump right in. So the plan here is to use different shades of red for different things so that he can stand out. The bummer part of all of this is that I spent so much time adding all of the rivets and I'm gonna have to do it all over again, but that's okay. The second I saw this and got excited about having a Santa Claus, I was like, well, I can repaint all those silver once this is all done red, and I'm absolutely gonna love it. I'm gonna keep these as black, the cross sections here, but everything else will be red, and then we'll just play around with tones to make it so that it looks like different stuff. And you'll get slop. I always get slop when I'm doing this sort of stuff, and then I'll repaint that black if I need to, but that's just fine. So let's go through and let's start making our Santa Claus. So now I'm going through with a thinner brush and hitting some more of the details. Now the paint that I'm using is just a Vallejo blood red is all. And then I'm going to take a different red that I've got for the pants. I'm not sure how different it's going to be, but I'm also going to take, once we get moving on this, I'm going to take some of my my model air red, the airbrush red that I use to go over the top of things. And I'll go over either the armor or the pants, whatever it is, to make these look like different reds. I want them to look different between the pants and this, because they are going to be different fabrics, so they would be different fabrics. And then I will add all the silver again on the rivets. And that'll be kind of the white. This guy won't have like the white center going down like a Santa Claus usually does. But I think with those rivets painted silver again, it will give it almost like bells, I think. They look really cool. So I am super excited for this guy. A Santa Claus. A murderous warrior Santa Claus. Nothing wrong with that. So we're moving on to the pants, and this is a Vallejo Scarlet, and it looks like it is a slightly different color. I don't know if it's enough of a different red. We'll see once it's all in place and we have multiple coats on as to whether or not this is a good enough difference. I'm still going to use the model air red to really add some difference up here because it'll darken it in, and I think that'll really make a difference. It does look like that, like now that it's getting that they are different, so that's good. That's really what I want. So I'll go through this, add a second coat, and then we'll move on to some more details. That's looking pretty good. Santa Claus. I don't usually talk much about my books on this channel. I mean, I mentioned the fact that I'm an author, but this is the perfect time to talk about a novella that I wrote a few years ago called The Santa Squad. And in it, Santa Claus is attacked by terrorists, and the North Pole is destroyed, and he uses some magic, wonderful science stuff, and becomes kind of a warrior seeking revenge on these terrorists. It's very fun. It's called a violently heartwarming Christmas carol. And this is the perfect time to bring it up. So if any of you guys are interested in that kind of story because of this warrior Santa we're doing, you might want to check that out. The Santa Squad, a violently heartwarming Christmas carol. All right. He looks like he's wearing red leather pants, but other than that, he's looking all right. While the trunks are drying, I'm going to go over with our model air red. Now, this is the one that I've used on a lot of figures, basically any red figure, and it really fills in everything, and it makes it look like it was plastic, like that the plastic was molded in red. If you want a great example of how this looks, check out my Red Robin video and my Harley Quinn video, because by the end it really did a great job on those figures, and it's going to do a great job on Santa Claus, which is not a figure I ever thought I would make. It's never entered my brain. I've never had a plan to do it. when I painted that Jason Mamoa head white, the hair white, I just knew. I was like, that's Santa Claus. One thing I don't often show is that if I'm wanting to experiment with something, I'll actually do it on the back just to see how it looks, because then it's easier to fix. So what I'm doing is I was debating on whether or not to use some metallic red on the front here to really make this look like armor. I mean, obviously all the individual dots we're going to go through with silver anyway, but I wanted to do that. And I think it's going to make it stand out a little bit more. Right now, they do have a very similar red. I mean, they're slightly different, but I want it to be a little bit more different. So I'm going to go through before I fix all of the blotches and stuff here on the black, and I'm just going to do the armor. And I'm going to metallicize it. It's going to lighten it up a little bit. Not make it a full pink, but it'll lighten it. And if it ends up being too much, then I can go through with the Model Air Red again and tone it down a little bit. But I really do want this to look really cool, because if this is Santa from the Santa Squad or just any other awesome badass Santa, then I want him to really look cool on the shelf. So hopefully this will just add another layer of texture to him. Since I want to go with a few different textures and colors here, I'm going to take, well, all that to drying. And I'm going to paint these straps brown so that he's just got a couple different things. I could go with black if I wanted, and that would match everything else, but I kind of, these aren't seen very much. They're very, just kind of hidden. And I would rather them have a different look than everything else. That's the thing, is that when you're going through characters like this and you're adding these little details, you want to keep in mind the fact that having little bits of difference just draw attention. I mean, they don't draw attention in a bad way, but they just make things look a little bit more, they make them stand out. And that's what you want. You don't want them to stand out in a bad way, but you do want them to stand out in a way that's like, oh, that's really cool. That looks cool. They aren't distracting. They're just cool. Now, if I'm making this Santa Claus, the Santa from the Santa Squad, whoops, he's got some guns as well as a sword, and so I'm thinking of taking this, which was from the Jim Gordon Batman that we turned into, Jim Gordon, that we turned into Commissioner Gordon, and I'm going to put this on him. So I'm going to cut the edges here because it's a little bit too big, and paint it black and wrap it around his leg so that he's got just a little bit more of a tactical edge. Doesn't look quite so old world, but still has a new world, because the Santa in that story was a mixture of the two. So I think that's what I'm going to do, and this will add just a little bit more detail to this guy, which is exciting. Now I'm going to take some black, I'm going to paint this bad boy up, and I'm going to fix all of the little smudges here on the edges that I got when I was putting the red on. And then what I've decided to do is I'm going to take some Model Air Red, but I'm not going to go over all of it. I'm going to hit some of these just little areas so that it looks a little bit more almost striped, like a candy cane. We'll see what it looks like. If I got to go over all the top of it, then I can, that's how it goes. So you can see I painted these black because the brown it wasn't doing it for me. So now it's matching everything else. What I'm doing at this point is I'm taking, just like I mentioned, taking some of this Model Air Red, and I'm going to run up these lines here in order to make it so that they stand out a little bit differently than the rest. Maybe it's a little bit of shadow or whatever, but I want it to be its own little deal. I want to add some textures to this guy, and I think this will be a good way to do it. So I'm going to go up through and add these before we go through with the silver, which I think will be one of our last things that we do, to add the silver back to that belt and the silver to all of these little rivets. I did it when I was customizing that other Witcher character and was just like, hey. And it looked awesome on the black, as you saw at the beginning of this video. But once I painted that head red, the hair white, I was like, nope, this is Santa Claus. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and I'm going to paint his gloves and his collar here white, because I think it's going to make him look more Santa-like. He's already got the black straps, and those make sense as being black. But I think having him have white hair and white gloves is really going to pop and be like, oh, it's Santa Claus. And that's what we want. We want people to look and say, it's Santa. It's a mean-looking Santa. I got some on there. That's the problem with painting and filming. Oftentimes I'll just start and I'll show you like me starting, and I won't do more because it's hard doing it this way. Like doing it in a way where I can pick him up and move him around, I get far less slop. And so, yeah. So I got some slop that I'm gonna have to kick up. But if I could move him around, but then if I moved him around, you wouldn't be able to see anything. So yeah, it's a balance. He's looking pretty good. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna start adding the silver details, and that includes the little dots all over here and these things on the belt that were painted over. So this is gonna take a while because literally I'm gonna hit every single one of these individually, and you don't want to see that. And I want to be able to look really closely while I'm doing it, so I'm not gonna film it. So let's just jump ahead, shall we? That took a while, but he's looking pretty awesome. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take some of this green shade, and I wanna like take his sword here, and I wanna turn this into a wreath. And so I'm just gonna paint this circle here. I'm not sure, I think this is the Witcher's sword for this figure. I'm not sure whether it is or not, but he's gonna get a nice wreath. I'm gonna do the same thing for his little symbol here on his chest. I'm gonna go through and paint that, paint the outline green as well. And Santa has come to town. I dig this guy. Obviously, I love the book because I wrote it and it's very fun and it's got a violent streak to it. And being able to do just a cool Santa like this and having him kind of fit into that mold of what I created is pretty dang cool. I gave him an AK-47 from that Spawn figure that was just in the extra stuff. And he's got, like I said, he's got a mix of old school and new, and it's just a ton of fun. If you want to check out the Santa Squad, you can go to stephenhumanauthor.com, or it's on Amazon or on Audible as well, and you can check it out for this Christmas season. And this has inspired me. Next week we are doing Mrs. Claus, and it is going to be absolutely awesome. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.